在忙碌的日子，自我检视特别的重要。身为主管，这是一个不能忽视的环节。自上一次的单元，让我们来探索更多的自我检视问题。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. This episode is part 2 of our explorations on the questions that My First Million podcaster and entrepreneur Sean Puri put together. And we wanted to look at 3 more questions and really explore the idea in the sense of when you're facing challenges, when you're feeling stuck, what are questions that you can ask yourself in order to unstick yourself or really to mull over where are the issues that are stopping you from moving on to the next stage of your adventure, career, or life.
觉得在很多我们的 career 生涯当中，一定都会有一些时候会觉得有点卡住可能有些事情是比较微小的，有些事情就却感觉是比较 severe 比较严重一点。 So we have these 3 questions for you today that you can ask yourself when you feel a little stuck.
The first question is interesting because it doesn't seem like something you would ask yourself when you feel stuck. But it is something that can help change your thought process about what's going on in your job, in your project, or other aspects of your life. And it's the question of when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should ask yourself is, who needs my help today?
I like this question because it kind of takes you out of that when you're in a busy mindset, when you're in this kind of routine situations, 有的时候你会忘记去忽略一些谁需要我的帮助，那可能这个回答这个答案是自己，但是当你讲 who needs my help 的时候，我觉得这个 help 你就会去想到说maybe who is in trouble or who is not happy or who is sad, who needs my comfort. 你会开始去想到这些不同的部分。
And even from a fundamental base, a lot of times when we get fixated on a problem, especially let's say you're waking up in the morning and it's the first thing that's popping in your head, like it's that severe, you can get really caught up and unable to take a new perspective on things. Just simply by shifting that mindset to, oh, how am I going to solve this? What am I going to do about it? All this is so much work and worry, etc. to who could I help today? 2 things that may come out of that is you may inadvertently help yourself, which is maybe it's a team member who is stuck on this project. And rather than looking at it as why is this person not doing their job and turning into is like, how could I help them so that we could move forward on this? Right? Rather than like, how can I yell at them? How can I push them? But it's like, what would help them the most? Or let's just say it's not about solving your own personal project, but it is good to step away from the thing that you're getting stuck or from your own challenge, help someone else actually act as like that consulting or that third person perspective to get fresh eyes on somebody else's problem. Maybe you will be able to stay in that third person mode to relook at your own problem and look at your own challenges with fresh eyes.
And I think it's the same idea of the best way to learn is by teaching someone. It's just like you get so much more from helping out with someone, even the problem is very small. Maybe 某一个人他可能就是想要 complain 一下他的心情不太好 then just sit there and listen and buy them a cup of coffee. 其实都会让你抽离你目前的一些问题，你目前的这个生活，还是可以给你一个很全新的一种想法。
Let's dive into the next question. When a situation is overwhelming or too much of a challenge, ask yourself, is this the thing or am I the thing?
When I see this question, I know that this question is for me. Again, because we're talking about social styles a lot this month, you know, I'm an expressive and a lot of the expressive friends out there, you know, 我们 expressive 通常有很多很多不同的想法，有很多的 emotion， 情绪会无时无刻跟着来。So 有的时候我们可能在做一些事情，它并不是很单纯的说 Oh, I'm just solving this problem specifically or I'm helping this person specifically. A lot of it also comes from us.就是我们想透过这件事情想要去解决什么问题。So actually, there's a lot of layers to every issue that you may be facing, especially for someone who is more emotion driven. This question would definitely help me when I just feel very overwhelmed by, let's say, oh, this project, there's so many issues. It's so overwhelming because I cannot hit the deadline. You know, I ask myself, is that really a thing or am I the thing? Like, what am I worried about? What am I afraid of? That could get into the root of the problem.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one version of this question to consider is that, is this a real worry or am I making this a worry? The other interpretation that I actually have of this question is that when there's a bottleneck, when there's some challenge that needs to be fixed, going back and evaluating, am I actually the person who should be fixing this problem or am I the problem? I think a lot of times, especially if for those of us who have been entrepreneurial or are very self-starter or motivated to fix problems, our assumption is always like, we gotta roll our sleeves up, we gotta get in there dirty, we gotta fix this problem, whatever it takes. But also forget to consider, maybe we're not the right person and we're actually the one creating a challenge. Right? Maybe this is something that does need to be delegated to other people, or maybe our contributions are worse than our benefits, right? So reevaluating is like, if there's something that has been stuck and maybe it's been stuck for a very long time, if you were to remove yourself from that situation, would it improve certain things?
I mean, that would work for, you know, when it comes to management or even parenting.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of situations with your kids, you cannot really help them. They have to help themselves. So 有的时候可能身为一个家长，当你把自己移开 maybe, or actually not maybe, most of the time. Obviously, it's not like a life-threatening situation, but, you know, the kids or the children will learn how to deal with it on their own. I mean, the same goes for managing a team, right? 有的时候你就是必须得让事情发生，他们才会有这些学习。So, yeah, I think that works.
Yeah, that can be one of those things where it's like, sometimes micromanaging is not because they're trying to be a difficult or bad manager. Sometimes micromanaging comes from they feel the need, like, I gotta get in there with my team, I gotta work it together. But then sometimes it's just like, treat your team like they know what they're doing. Yeah. And then ideally they should. Right. If you've done your job right, then they will figure it out. But you have to remove yourself from that situation to find out.
Right. Now let's talk about the third question. A lot of times we're only doing things because we're already doing them. And this is incredibly interesting. Here's the question you can ask. If I wasn't already doing this, would I still do it? I love this question on so many layers, but I'm going to let Nick and talk about this very interesting phenomenon.
This, like, the first thing that comes to mind is, in English, we have this term called the sunk cost fallacy, which means that sometimes because you've spent so much time or money on something that you continue doing it even if you don't want to, even if you don't like it, but you just feel obligated, like, oh, I've just put so much effort into this. Now, the place that I probably see this the most often would be in startups. Startups get into this mode of like, oh, this worked once, and so I'm just going to push it, I'm going to push it, I'm going to push it. But then when you find out it doesn't work, it's very hard to get people to walk away from that because that's just the way that they've done it, or that's how they found early success. And they're not recognizing when to stop, but they just feel like, oh, I've put all my time and energy into this thing. It has to work. The other place that I see this is actually much more simpler, but it's some businesses are built around this. The example I gave, and this is something that even I had to realize for myself, is that mobile gaming, playing games on your phone, has built an entire industry around the idea of, oh, because you've already spent this much money in the game, or every month you have committed what seems like a little bit of money, over time you just feel like, oh, I can't stop playing this game, or I can't just give up on this because I've already spent all this money. It would be a waste. But then the reality is maybe you don't have the time. Maybe it's not that interesting to you anymore. You just need to put it away. Another very basic version of that is a lot of people have an advice of like, if you don't like a book and you're halfway through it, put it down. But it's really hard. Like if you read half of a book, for many people, you're just like, okay, I don't like it, but I just feel like I already put like 5 hours into reading this thing. I'm just going to drag through. But when you're done with it, you're like, that was still not worth it. And so a lot of people just been like, if you really don't like a book, let it go.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to sunk cost, 我们也可以讲到它叫做沉没的成本嘛，它可能是时间、精力 所有的金钱啊等等。So it's like, I think a lot of times it's because we have emotional attachment to this thing or to this time or energy that we've put into a certain project. 那刚刚 Nick 有讲到这个，我觉得 a lot of apps are built around the sunk cost fallacy, right? 有的时候你会觉得说，诶，我已经付了1整年了，然后它好像还有3个月才会到期，但我好像前面都完全没有用到它啊，I'll just keep it. And then you just keep paying for that annual fee, but you're really not getting anything out of it. So I feel like, a lot of startups, a lot of even projects, like big projects that you put in so much work, but you know it in you that it's just not working out for you. It's actually eating your life. It's making you unhappy. It's making your team unhappy. It's not making you guys money. Should you let it go?
And so back to the question itself of, if I wasn't already doing this, would I still do it? This is a check against all those things, which is, rather than, as Sherry just pointed out, justifying that, oh, well, I spent the money, or, well, I put the time in, to reframe this, which is, let's ignore all of that information and just simply go, if I remove those as factors, would I make the same decision? And if you wouldn't make the same decision, then you should probably let that go, because what it means is it's not a priority, or it's not bringing you the benefit that mentally you think it is, because, oh, I already spent that money, I already spent that time, so it's like putting it in a bank. But it's really not. You don't get it back. And in fact, what you can lose is everything next. So it's like going back and making that decision again with fresh start. Would you? And if the answer is no, then you should probably let it go. We hope that these gave you 3 more questions to ask yourself, especially when you're feeling stuck or challenged by a particular project or a particular burning question. As always, we'll drop these 3 questions in the show notes, and if you're interested in the origin of this, just look up Sean Puri, My First Million. In a very recent episode, they actually linked to his entire list of about 30 or 40 questions that not only he asks himself, but he asks other entrepreneurs. It's a great mind exploration. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.